The galaxy had many stories. Some were old, some were forgotten, and some were so strange that even scholars refused to teach them. One such story was about humans. Across hundreds of star systems, people whispered tales about a species from a dangerous blue world. A place full of storms, predators, sickness, poison, earthquakes, and extremes of heat and cold. The stories claimed that humans survived all of it. Some said they even became stronger because of it, but most advanced species believed these stories were only myths. Myths created by frightened explorers who did not understand what they had seen. Among those who did not believe the stories was Princess Leora, the heir to the peaceful and cultured world of Vathora Prime. She was known for her sharp mind, strong voice, and proud confidence. She had studied military history, diplomacy, engineering, and ancient legends. But to her, the tales of human warriors were nothing more than exaggerated nonsense. Humans? She often laughed. They look soft. They look small. How can a species like that be dangerous? Her classmates agreed. Every race that had met humans saw them as friendly, emotional, expressive, and talkative. They were good diplomats, good traders, and good explorers. No one had seen them as warriors, so when the Vathoran Council invited a human representative to discuss a trade alliance, Leora was curious but amused. She expected someone polite, smiling, and harmless. Just another peaceful visitor from a world that loved exploration more than war. What she did not expect was Commander Rion Holt. He arrived without any guards, without fancy armor, without a weapon. He wore only a plain dark uniform with a simple silver badge shaped like a star. His posture was relaxed, his expression calm, and his eyes steady and observant. He looked almost too normal, like someone who would get lost in a crowd. Leora stared at him during the first meeting. She had expected something impressive, something that matched the stories, a legend, a monster, a deathworlder. Instead, she saw a quiet man who spoke softly and listened carefully. "Your world is beautiful," Rion said in the meeting. "I am honored to be here," Leora whispered to her advisor. "This is the terrifying human warrior, this gentle man?" Her advisor nodded awkwardly. He too had expected something more dramatic. For the next week, Rion joined several council discussions. He was polite to everyone. He shared knowledge freely. He made no demands. He walked through the city with simple curiosity, admiring the floating gardens and crystal towers. The people loved him. Even the guards joked about how peaceful humans were. One day, in the council chamber, Leora finally challenged him directly. "Commander Rion," she said, "I have read many myths about your people. They say humans can fight wild beasts with bare hands. They say humans heal faster than normal. They say humans become stronger when pushed to the edge. Are these stories true?" The room grew quiet. Rion took a moment before speaking. "Some of the stories are real," he said slowly. "But most humans never use that side of themselves. We prefer peace." Leora laughed lightly. "I believe the stories are made up. If your kind were truly so strong, you would not hide it." Rion only smiled. Strength is not always something to show. She thought he was just being humble. She did not believe him. But something strange happened in the days that followed. Small details caught her attention. When they walked through the training hall, she saw Rion's eyes scanning every exit and shadow without him even thinking about it. When a worker accidentally knocked over a heavy crate, Rion reacted faster than anyone, catching it before it crushed the worker's foot. When a security alarm flashed because of a system error, he instantly put himself between Leora and the source of the alert, even though he was unarmed. These moments were quick and subtle, but Leora noticed. Something inside her began to wonder if the stories had at least a little truth behind them. But she still laughed about the myths whenever someone mentioned them. It was easier to believe Rion was just a cautious man, a thoughtful man, a kind man, not a warrior. All of this changed on the night of the Cradle Moon Festival, when the city gathered under a glowing sky, and the floating lanterns drifted above the river. Leora stood on a balcony with Rion, watching the lights rise like golden stars. Music played below. People cheered. It was a peaceful night. Then the peace shattered. A deep explosion shook the ground. The sky lit up with fire. The lanterns dropped burning into the river. Screams filled the streets. Alarms howled across the city. Palace towers flashed red warning lights. The enemy had arrived. The Dravkan Raiders, a brutal faction known for kidnapping leaders and selling worlds into slavery, had chosen this night to attack Vathora Prime. Their warships broke through the outer shields without warning. Their drop pods slammed into plazas and streets, and dozens of armed raiders stormed the festival grounds. Leora froze in shock. She had trained for war in theory, but she had never seen real violence. Not like this. Rion moved before she even understood what was happening. "Stay behind me," he said firmly, his voice different, sharper, colder, controlled. Leora stared at him. His posture changed. His calm expression vanished. His eyes locked onto the battlefield with terrifying focus. "Commander," she whispered, but he was already moving. A Dravkan warrior charged onto the balcony, roaring, holding a shock blade. Rion stepped forward, his movements smooth and fast. Leora expected him to dodge, to run, to hide. Instead, he reached out, grabbed the raider's wrist, twisted it, and threw the warrior to the ground, so hard the tiles cracked. The blade clattered away. Leora gasped. She had not even seen how he moved. It was too quick. Another raider climbed up the balcony railing. Rion grabbed the railing, swung his body, and kicked the raider off the edge. The warrior fell 2 stories into a service pool with a heavy splash. Leora's voice trembled. That was not normal." Rion did not answer. His focus was sharp like a blade. She realized she was not looking at the peaceful diplomat anymore. She was looking at something else. Something she had denied. A Deathworlder. He pointed toward the inner hall. "We must move. Now." But more raiders arrived. 6 of them rushed into the balcony from the side door, shouting in their harsh language, raising their shock weapons. Leora stepped back. She had no weapon, no armor. She was helpless. Rion stood alone between her and the attackers. The first raider lunged. Rion ducked, struck the warrior's knee with his elbow, and swept his legs out. The second raider swung a metal club, but Rion caught the handle, pulled the warrior forward, and hit him with the back of his forearm, knocking him out cold. A third raider fired a stun bolt. Rion pushed Leora aside and took the hit on his shoulder. A normal person would fall instantly, but Rion only gritted his teeth and kept moving. Leora's eyes widened. "How are you still standing?" "Later," he said. "We need to escape the balcony." 2 more raiders attacked together. Rion dodged one, grabbed the other's vest, and used his momentum to knock both of them into each other. They fell in a tangled heap. The last raider raised his weapon at Leora. Rion's expression changed to pure steel. He sprinted forward, faster than Leora had ever seen anyone move. He slammed into the raider, disarming him and pinning him to the wall with one smooth motion. The balcony fell silent. Leora's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She stared at Rion, her voice barely a whisper. You are really one of those warriors from the stories." Rion looked at her, breathing hard but focused. Stories start somewhere. For the first time in her life, Leora did not laugh, because she had seen it. She had seen what a human warrior truly was. And it was nothing like the myths. It was far, far more. Rion stepped back, scanning the burning city. More explosions echoed in the distance. Sirens blared. The air filled with smoke. "We're not safe here," he said, turning to her with steady eyes. "The raiders came for leaders. They came for you. We must reach the council bunker." Leora nodded shakily. "Yes, lead the way." Rion moved to the doorway, checking corners, scanning shadows, calculating threats. His mind worked like a machine, trained for chaos. Leora followed close behind, her chest tight with fear but also something else. Respect. The man she had once mocked, the myths she had once laughed at, all of it had changed in a single night. And this was only the beginning. Smoke filled the halls of the royal balcony as Commander Rion Holt led Princess Leora into the inner chambers. The once bright palace now shook with distant explosions. The glowing crystal lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows on the marble floors. Every few seconds, another shockwave hit the outer walls. The peaceful world of Vathora was under attack. Rion stepped carefully, checking every corner with sharp eyes. His voice remained calm, even though danger surrounded them. "Stay close. Don't fall behind," he said. Leora followed him with quick steps. Her heart beat fast, but she tried to stay steady. She had seen him fight. She had seen what a human warrior could do. Now she trusted him more than anyone. As they reached the palace's inner corridor, 2 Vatharan guards rushed toward them. "Princess, thank the stars you are alive," one of them said. Their armor was dented, their faces marked with soot and fear. "Where is the council bunker?" Rion asked immediately. The guards exchanged a worried look. "The raiders have taken the east wing," one said. "The path to the bunker is blocked." Leora felt panic rising. "Then how do we escape?" The guard looked down. We don't know." Rion stepped forward. "Is there another route?" The guard hesitated, then nodded. "There is a service passage through the archives. It is old and narrow. Not many know it exists. Show me," Rion ordered. The guards obeyed without question. In moments like these, rank did not matter. What mattered was who could lead, and Rion was the calmest person in the room. They moved down a long hallway, but soon, loud metallic footsteps echoed from behind. Dravkan raiders had found them. "Go!" Rion pushed Leora forward. The guards turned and fired energy bolts at the raiders, but the enemy had heavier armor. The shots barely slowed them down. Rion quickly pulled the guards aside before the raiders could strike. "Don't fight here," he said. "You'll die." "But sir." "No time. Move." The guards listened. They sprinted after Leora. Rion stayed at the back, his eyes locked on the advancing enemy. The hallway shook as the raiders charged. Their heavy boots thundered like drums of war. They were larger than humans, thick-skinned, heavily muscled, and trained for brutal combat. But Rion didn't flinch. He picked up a fallen spear from a broken statue and spun it once in his hand. It was not a human weapon, but he adapted instantly. The first raider swung a shock axe. Rion stepped aside, fluid like water, and struck his wrist with the spear's butt. The axe dropped. Rion flipped the spear around and swept the raider's legs. The giant alien fell with a roar. 2 more raiders charged. Rion used the narrow hallway to his advantage. He pivoted, blocked, and dodged. He moved as if he had memorized every inch of the corridor. Leora looked back and froze. She had never seen a battle like this, not in training, not in any simulation. Rion fought with precision, speed, and calm focus. It looked unreal. Almost impossible. A guard grabbed her arm. "Princess, we must go." She forced herself to keep moving. Behind them, Rion struck another raider with the spear's tip, hitting a weak joint in the armor. The alien staggered. Rion leapt, used the wall to push himself higher, and delivered a powerful kick that knocked the raider into the opposite wall. The corridor shook. The raider fell, motionless. Rion exhaled, then turned and ran after the others. His shoulder still burned from the stun blast earlier, but he ignored the pain. Humans were used to pushing their limits. They reached the grand archive doors. The guards opened them quickly, and the group slipped inside. The archive was a massive hall filled with shelves of glowing data crystals. The lights were soft and calm, a sharp contrast to the chaos outside. "We can reach the service passage from the far side," a guard said. But as they moved forward, Rion lifted a hand. "Stop." Leora froze. "What is it?" Rion scanned the room carefully. "Something is wrong." A faint clicking sound echoed through the hall. It was small, almost easy to miss, but Rion heard it clearly. "Drones," he whispered. Leora's eyes widened. "Inside the archive?" Rion nodded. "Raiders use these for scouting and tracking. If they mark our location, more will come." The guards aimed their weapons at the shelves. "Don't fire," Rion warned. "Energy shots will call the raiders faster." "So what do we do?" Leora asked quietly. Rion crouched low, listening to the clicking. The drones moved like tiny insects in the shadows, hard to see but easy to hear once you knew the sound. Rion picked up a small metal lamp from a table and tossed it across the room. The sound echoed loudly. Instantly, 3 tiny drones shot toward the noise. Scanning the fallen lamp. "Go around the right side," Rion whispered. "Stay low." The group moved quietly. But one drone drifted close to Leora. It hovered near her shoulder, scanning for heat and movement. Her breath caught in her throat. Rion moved without hesitation. He reached out, grabbed the drone mid-air, and crushed it with his bare hand before it could send a signal. Leora stared. "How did you?" He shook his head. "Keep going," but it was too late. The crushed drone let out a piercing alarm. A red light blinked rapidly on its side. "That's a distress signal," a guard said. "They know we're here." Rion turned to Leora. "Run." The group sprinted through the aisles toward the service door. Behind them, heavy footsteps and metallic clanging sounded again. More raiders were coming. The guards reached the far door and tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. "It's locked," one guard shouted. Rion ran up, checked the panel, and shook his head. "It's not locked. It's jammed." "Can you fix it?" Leora asked urgently. "Not in time." The footsteps grew louder. Rion grabbed one guard's plasma rifle and pointed it at the ceiling beams above the door. "What are you doing?" Leora cried. "Making an exit." He fired a controlled burst. The beam weakened the structural support. Dust fell. With a deep breath, Rion kicked the weakened beam. It broke with a loud crack, and part of the wall loosened enough to reveal a small gap. "It's tight, but we can squeeze through," he said. Leora didn't question him. She climbed into the gap with the guards helping her from behind. Rion stayed outside, covering the entrance. Raider voices echoed as they entered the archive. "Where is the human? Where is the princess?" Rion pulled himself into the service passage just as the raiders arrived, their weapons raised. A plasma bolt shot past his leg and burned a hole in the wall. He crawled deeper until he could no longer be seen. The service passage was narrow and dark. Only faint emergency lights glowed along the walls. Leora waited for him with worried eyes. "Are you hurt?" "Just tired," he said softly. "Keep moving." The small group walked hunched through the tunnel until they reached a maintenance platform overlooking the lower city. Smoke covered the skyline. Fires burned in several districts. Sirens echoed through the streets. "This is worse than we thought," Leora whispered. Rion placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Your people are strong. They will survive this." She looked at him. "And you?" "You keep putting yourself in danger for me." "Why?" Rion paused. His answer was simple. "Because protecting others is what humans do." Leora felt something shift inside her. She had read books about human emotion, loyalty, courage, sacrifice, but she had never truly understood them before. Now she did. A distant explosion shook the platform. A massive Dravkan gunship rose into view, scanning the rooftops with bright searchlights. "They are hunting survivors," a guard whispered. But the gunship's lights suddenly shifted toward the platform toward them. "They saw us," Leora gasped. Rion stepped forward, shielding her with his body. "Get back into the tunnel." "But Rion, I'll buy you time." The gunship turned its cannons toward them. Leora grabbed his arm firmly. "No, I won't leave you." Rion looked into her eyes, surprised by her determination. For the first time, she wasn't the scholar who mocked legends. She wasn't the princess who believed myths were lies. She was someone who had seen the truth. Before he could speak, the platform shook violently as the gunship fired. Rion pushed Leora and the guards into the passageway just as the blast tore through the edge of the platform. Dust and debris filled the air. Rion staggered back, barely avoiding the fall. Leora screamed, "Rion!" He stood in the smoke, bruised, breathing hard but alive. He turned to her with steady eyes. "This isn't over," he said. "Because humans didn't break. They stood back up. Always." And Leora finally understood why the galaxy once feared them. Dust and smoke slowly drifted away from the shattered platform. The gunship circled overhead, scanning the ruins for survivors, its searchlight slicing through the gray haze. Princess Leora leaned out of the service passage, coughing softly as she looked for the one man she feared losing. Then she saw him. Commander Rion Holt stood on the damaged platform, bruised and dusty, but still steady on his feet. His clothes were torn from the blast, his hair covered in ash. Yet his eyes stayed sharp. The human warrior looked as if nothing could break him. Relief washed over Leora like a warm wave. "Rion," she called, her voice shaky. He looked up at her and nodded. "I'm all right. Move deeper inside. The gunship will fire again." The moment he said it, the gunship turned, its cannons charging with a bright pulse. Leora ducked back into the tunnel as a second blast struck the platform. Rion jumped, rolling into the tunnel at the last second. The explosion destroyed the remaining structure behind him. The tunnel shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The two guards covered Leora as she shielded her face. Rion stood up slowly, breathing hard. "You're hurt," Leora said softly. "I've had worse," he replied with a faint smile. "Let's keep moving. We are not safe here." His voice remained calm, but Leora noticed the way he pressed his hand to his ribs. He had taken part of the blast. Still, he kept walking. Leora followed him through the dim passageways. The emergency lights flickered, showing old pipes and thick cables lining the walls. This place had not been used in years. The air felt cold and stale. "Where does this lead?" Leora asked, trying to stay focused. "To the lower district," Rion said. "If we reach the council bunker from below, we might avoid the raiders." "Do you know the way?" one guard asked. Rion nodded. Mostly." "Mostly?" Leora repeated, raising an eyebrow. "We don't have a map, but I remember the city layout. Humans are good at remembering paths." Leora found herself smiling despite the danger. "Another myth?" "No," Rion said, glancing at her. "Just practice." They walked for several more minutes. The silence filled with distant booms and faint echoes of battle. The sounds made Leora uneasy. Her world had always been peaceful. The idea of war had been something she studied in books, not something she lived through. Now she understood why Rion seemed so different. He came from a world where danger was normal, where survival was a skill taught from childhood. Finally, they reached a rusted metal door leading out to the lower district. Rion pushed it slightly open and scanned outside. The streets below were in chaos. Buildings burned. Smoke curled into the sky. Dravkan raiders marched through the roads in groups, dragging prisoners and searching for hidden survivors. Drones hovered above them, scanning the area with red lights. "We cannot cross openly," Rion said. "We will move through shadows." Leora felt nervous. "And if they see us? Then I'll handle it," he said simply. Leora had seen enough to know he meant it. Rion led them along a narrow path between collapsed buildings. They stayed low, using broken walls and abandoned stalls as cover. Several times, Rion stopped them with a hand gesture. His senses were sharp, like he could feel danger before it arrived. At one point, a patrol of raiders passed just a few meters away. Leora held her breath as she crouched behind a fallen statue. Rion rested a finger on his lips, signaling silence. The raiders' heavy boots thudded across the ground. Their rough voices filled the street, speaking in their deep, rumbling language. After they passed, Rion waited another 10 seconds before motioning the group forward. "You hear them long before you see them," Rion said quietly. Leora nodded. "Your senses are different." Rion paused. "Humans adapt to danger quickly. Our bodies react fast when something feels wrong." Leora looked at him with new understanding. "No wonder the myths say humans are hard to predict." "The myths say many things," Rion said with a small chuckle. "Most are exaggerated. But not all." The group continued moving until they reached an alley behind a damaged marketplace. The path to the council bunker was still far, but they were making progress. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed from above. A Dravkan assault beast, large, armored, and four-legged, jumped onto a rooftop. Its eyes glowed red. It sniffed the air, searching for scents. Leora's heart dropped. "That beast, it can track us?" Yes, Rion said, watching the creature carefully. They use them when they want to capture someone important. Leora realized the truth. They are hunting me. Rion nodded. That's why we must stay ahead of them. But the beast sniffed again and looked directly toward the alley where they hid. The guards stiffened. It sensed us. Rion acted instantly. Move to the warehouse. Now. They ran toward an old storage building nearby. But the beast leapt from the roof, landing in the street with a heavy thud. Its claws scraped the ground. Its massive head turned toward them. Then it charged. Leora's breath caught. The ground shook as the powerful creature sprinted toward them. The guards fired their rifles, but the shots bounced off its thick armor. Inside. Rion pulled Leora through the warehouse door. The beast slammed into the wall, cracking it. Dust burst into the air. Rion quickly barred the door with a metal rod. That won't hold for long, a guard warned. Rion scanned the room quickly. The warehouse was full of old crates, broken equipment, and tall storage racks. We fight inside, he said. The beast rammed the wall again. The building shook. Leora stumbled, catching herself on a crate. Rion, that thing is too strong, she said. It has weak points, Rion replied. Every living creature does. The beast roared and smashed the door. Splinters flew everywhere. The metal rod bent. The guards took cover, firing more shots. Rion positioned himself between Leora and the creature. Stay back, he said without looking at her. She wanted to argue, but she couldn't. His voice left no room for doubt. With a final crash, the beast broke through the door. It stood inside the warehouse, breathing heavily, its eyes glowing with hunger and anger. Its body was covered in thick natural armor plates. Its sharp claws scraped against the floor. The guards fired again. The beast lifted one armored leg and struck down with force, sending a shockwave that knocked one guard back. Rion finally moved. He rushed toward the beast, sliding under its first swipe. He punched the underside of its jaw, a softer spot, and rolled away before it could bite him. Leora watched in shock. He's fighting it with his hands. The beast swung its tail. Rion ducked, grabbed a broken metal pipe from the floor, and used it as a staff. He jabbed the creature behind the knee joint. The beast roared in pain. That hurt it, a guard shouted. Yes, Rion said, breathing harder. Aim for the joints. They are weaker than the armor. The guards adjusted their shots, targeting knees and elbows. The beast became slower, more frustrated, but it was still deadly. It lunged at Rion again. Rion jumped onto a crate, then to a higher shelf. The beast followed, smashing through crates and sending debris flying everywhere. Rion used the height to his advantage. He leapt from the shelf and landed on the beast's back. He grabbed the thick plates and pulled with all his strength. The beast bucked wildly. Leora gasped. He's going to fall, but Rion held on, sliding toward the creature's neck. He reached a small gap between the armor plates and drove the metal pipe into the joint. The beast roared in agony, shaking violently. Rion jumped off just before it collapsed onto the floor. The room fell silent, except for the beast's heavy breathing. Then it stopped moving. The guards stared in disbelief. He defeated it. Leora felt her chest tighten. She couldn't tell if it was fear or admiration, or both. Rion exhaled hard, leaning against a crate for support. Sweat covered his forehead. His arms trembled slightly from exhaustion. You're hurt. Leora stepped closer. I'll be fine, he said, though his voice was softer than before. One guard pointed toward the street outside. More raiders will come when they hear the beast die. Rion nodded. Then, we need to move quickly. Leora placed a hand on his arm. Rion, thank you. He looked at her, surprised. For what? For protecting us. For protecting me. He held her gaze for a moment, then smiled gently. Anyone would. Leora shook her head. No, not anyone. They exited the warehouse through a back door. Smoke covered the city. Fires raged in the distance. But the council bunker was closer now. Rion looked ahead, determination burning in his eyes. We'll get you to safety, he said. I promise. And Leora believed him. because she had finally seen what a human warrior truly was. Not a myth, not a legend, but a force that refused to fall. The night sky over Vathora Prime burned with orange and red light. Entire districts glowed with flames, and thick smoke drifted through the streets like dark fog. The Dravkan invasion had turned the peaceful world into a battlefield. But in the middle of this destruction, Commander Rion Holt pushed forward, bruised and exhausted, yet moving with steady purpose. Princess Leora walked beside him, trusting him more than anyone she had ever known. The two guards followed close behind, shaken but determined. They had seen what Rion could do. They knew that as long as he stood, they had a chance. "We're close," Rion said, pointing toward a narrow valley between two burning towers. "The council bunker is under that hillside." Leora looked ahead. The valley was dark, and quiet, too quiet. "There should be patrols here," she whispered. "But I don't hear anyone. That's what worries me," Rion said softly. He crouched behind a fallen transport vehicle and peered ahead. His muscles were tense. His instincts were screaming. "There's an ambush," he said. The guards froze. Leora swallowed nervously. "How do you know?" Rion pointed. "The fires in that building are fresh, but there's no smoke blowing across the valley. That means someone cleared the air recently. And look at the ground. No footprints, no drag marks, no debris. Too clean." Leora stared at him, amazed again at how quickly he saw things others could not. "So what do we do?" she asked. Rion took a deep breath. "We go through. But slowly. Stay behind me. When I tell you to run, you run." Leora nodded. She didn't argue anymore. She trusted him completely. They moved through the valley with silent steps. The air smelled of ash, metal, and burned stone. The dim glow of city fires cast eerie shadows around them. Halfway through, a crackling sound echoed above. Then a voice boomed through a speaker. "Human, surrender the princess. You cannot fight forever." The Dravkan commander. Rion lifted his head slightly. "Keep walking. Don't stop." But the ground shook as armored raiders stepped out from behind the rocks and ruined buildings. More emerged from the shadows above them. Within seconds, the group was surrounded. Leora's pulse quickened. "Rion, I see them," he said calmly. Dozens of raiders slowly closed in, their weapons glowing with blue energy. Their armor reflected the firelight, making them look like monsters from a nightmare. The Dravkan commander stepped forward. He was larger than the others, wearing thick, spiked armor with markings of high rank. His voice was deep and booming. "You are difficult to catch, human," he growled. "But this time, there is no escape." Rion stepped slightly in front of Leora. "Let them go," he said. "Your fight is with me." The commander laughed. "My orders are to capture the princess." "You are only a nuisance." Rion's eyes narrowed. Leora saw something inside him change again, something cold, fierce, and unbreakable. He whispered to her, "When I move, run to the far tunnel. Don't look back." Leora grabbed his arm. "No, I'm not leaving you." "You must," he said. "I'll follow." But she shook her head. "You always protect me. Let me stay with you." He hesitated for a moment. It was the first time she had seen true uncertainty in him. Then he whispered, "If you stay close, stay behind me." The commander raised his hand. "Take them." The raiders charged. Rion moved first. He shoved Leora behind a large piece of rubble and leapt into action. His body moved faster than the raiders expected. He grabbed a spear from one of them, spun it, and struck two warriors in the legs before they could raise their weapons. 3 more raiders rushed him. Rion dodged the first, blocked the second with the spear, and kicked the third in the chest. The raider flew backward into a rock wall. The guards fired their rifles, taking down 2 enemies, but they were badly outnumbered. Leora peeked out from her cover, watching Rion fight with a mixture of awe and fear. He was strong, but he was only one man. The commander roared, "Crush him!" 8 raiders attacked at once. Rion fought like a storm, fast, focused, relentless. He used the spear to block a blade, then snapped the shaft in half to turn it into two short weapons. He struck pressure points, armor joints, and weak spots with precision, but the enemies kept coming. One raider grabbed him from behind. Rion slammed his head back, breaking the raider's nose, then flipped him over his shoulder. Another raider slashed Rion's arm, leaving a deep cut. Leora gasped. Rion! He didn't react to the pain. He threw one of his broken spear pieces like a dart, hitting another raider in the throat joint and dropping him instantly. But there were too many. A raider swung a heavy club at Rion's ribs. The blow landed hard. Rion staggered, falling to one knee. Leora's heart clenched. No. The commander laughed. You fought well, human, but this is your end. Rion pushed himself up again, shaky but unbroken. His eyes glowed with determination. No, he said. Not yet. He rushed toward the commander, using the last of his strength. The commander swung his massive hammer. Rion ducked under it and punched the commander in the throat. The alien stumbled. Rion followed with a kick that cracked the armor at the knee. The commander roared in rage and swung the hammer again. This time, the blow hit Rion in the shoulder, knocking him to the ground. Leora screamed, running toward him despite the guard's attempts to stop her. Rion. The commander loomed over the fallen human. I will enjoy breaking you. He raised the hammer. Leora threw herself in front of Rion, arms spread wide. Stop. If you want me, take me. Leave him. Rion grabbed her arm weakly. Leora. Don't. But she stayed firm. You protected me all night. Now I protect you. The commander laughed. Foolish girl. As he brought the hammer down, Rion suddenly rolled, grabbed Leora, and shielded her with his own body. The hammer smashed the ground where she stood so close its shockwave knocked them both back. Rion stood again, limping but alive. He faced the commander with a defiant glare. You want her? Rion said. You'll have to go through me. Leora looked up at him, tears in her eyes. Rion, why do you keep risking your life? He answered without hesitation. Because humans don't abandon the people they protect. The commander roared and charged. Rion reached for a fallen weapon, a curved blade, and met the attack head-on. The two clashed again and again, sparks flying from metal, dust rising from the ground. Suddenly, the commander made a mistake. He lifted his hammer too high. Rion slid under his guard, stabbed the blade into a gap in the armor, and twisted it. The commander howled, stumbling backward. Rion pulled Leora close and whispered, Now! Run! She didn't want to leave him, but this time she listened. She and the guard sprinted toward the hillside entrance to the council bunker. Rion turned, preparing to follow, but the commander grabbed him again. Rion fought desperately, but he was too tired, too injured. The commander slammed him against a rock wall. Leora screamed, Rion. The commander lifted Rion by his collar. You are strong for a myth. Rion glared. Humans aren't myths. He slammed his forehead into the commander's chin. The alien dropped him. Rion hit the ground hard, but forced himself to stand again. He didn't stop. He didn't fall. He didn't give up. Leora watched in awe, tears streaming down her face. This was the truth behind the legends. This was the fire that humans carried. Rion stepped backward toward the bunker entrance. The hillside suddenly opened, as Vatharan defense forces emerged soldiers, drones, and armored units. The commander turned too late. A volley of stun blasts struck him, knocking him to the ground at last. The raiders, seeing their leader fall, retreated in panic. Leora ran to Rion as he collapsed to his knees. She caught him before he fell. Rion, stay with me. He gave her a tired smile. Told you. I'd follow. She held him tightly. You saved us all. No, he whispered. You saved me too. The Vatharan soldiers surrounded them as medics rushed over. For the first time, Leora did not see the quiet diplomat she once mocked. She saw the truth. A human warrior, a protector, a legend who didn't need stories because she had witnessed him with her own eyes. As the medics lifted Rion onto a stretcher, he reached out and touched her hand. Leora, your world is safe now. She squeezed his hand gently. Because of you. He gave a faint smile before closing his eyes to rest. Leora watched him being carried into the bunker, her heart full. The myths were real, and she no longer laughed at them. because one human warrior had changed her world, and changed her forever.